we're going to have many units of the class. This isn't all of them. There are 14. However, throughout each unit, of course, we're going to have plenty of feedback with each other, group discussion. This hopefully will be an informal enough training to where you can feel comfortable stopping and discussing as you need to. So as you can see, Unit 1, the goal is the student's going to understand what 911 education is and why it's important. Goal number 2, 911 awareness survey results will be gone over. Goal number 3, we're going to talk about budget. We're going to talk about if you have a budget, if you don't have a budget, if you have a good budget, if you have a bad budget, what to do if you need to beg for a budget, So everything budget will be talked about with the budget.
First thing we're going to talk about is what is public education? And it's that transference of knowledge. And you guys are in the field. You are the subject matter experts. Nobody knows it as good as you, especially if you have that telecommunicator experience. Raise your hand if you have the telecommunicator experience, the 911 experience, the dispatch experience. Okay, and if you don't, that's okay. It can be learned, okay? But you guys are the subject matter experts. You know it. You've taken the calls, okay? You have the knowledge. But it's getting the knowledge from the subject matter expert to the public, okay? It is that transference of knowledge and educating your community. Most parents that I talk to, I don't need to teach my children about 911 because if there's an emergency, I'm going to handle it. Anybody here ever take a call from a child? Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. Okay, parents sometimes are the emergency. Okay, and they don't think about that. I'm sorry, I'm not as young as I used to be. Things go wrong with this body, okay? And things can go wrong with anybody's body. And if you have children, if you have grandchildren, if you have children in your life, they need to know, okay? So we're going to talk about, like I said, all those different types of audiences. You guys have this in your book. So they need to know what are the different types of emergencies. What is an emergency, okay? Is it okay to call 911 if your little brother doesn't want to share the video game? No. But if mommy won't wake up, that's when they need to call. And that's something that we need to teach them. So they need to know how to use the phone. They need to know the number to call. They need to know what's an emergency, what's not an emergency. And they need to be able to know what to do whenever they call. That they need to speak calmly. They need to use their voice, okay? And that we can't see them, so they can't shake their head or nod because we can't see what they're saying. So make sure that they talk to us. They need to tell us what the emergency is. More importantly, they need to tell us where the emergency is. That it's never, ever, ever a joke. You're always going to have the one kid that thinks it's really cool to call 911 just to see if it works. Or to call 911 and, is your refrigerator running? I don't know that. I'm gonna ask my subject matter experts from Plano. Do we get a lot of prank calls from kids in Plano?
We get a fair amount in the day, like right after school.
Right after school, during the summertime. Rest of the year, do we get many? Not really. My former agency in Hobbs, New Mexico, did not have a public education program for 911. They had a great crime prevention program, but they did not have a great 911 education program. And we got calls all the time, all the time. We don't get a huge amount. We get some, but I would venture to say are some of those the kids that mom handed them the phone as a babysitter? Okay, but most of our school-age kids, they know it's not a joke. They see me in the schools. They recognize me at the Starbucks. That's kind of a cool feeling. You're in Starbucks and you hear this little voice, Mommy, I know her. No, you don't, honey. Yes, I do. I know her. No, honey, I've never seen her before. You don't know her. And I just kind of smile. And I actually approached the lady and I said, I overheard your daughter say she knew me. She goes, I'm so sorry. And I go, actually, she probably does know me. What? Ma'am, I've never seen you before in my life. And I said, what school do you go to? And she goes, Mendenhall. And I said, did you sing happy birthday to me? And she goes, I did. And I said, yeah, I was at your school on my birthday, wasn't I? Yes, you were. And I said, what did I teach you? You taught us how to call 911 and when to call 911 and what to say. And her mom goes, oh my gosh, you're the 911 lady. Yes, I am. Did she tell you about what she learned? She goes, for the next week, all I heard was 911 this and 911 that, and you only call 911 if it's an emergency, and this is what you do. She goes, I learned so much about 911 from what you taught my daughter. So is 911 education important? Yeah, because not only are they going to learn it, they're also going to talk about what they learn with their siblings. They're going to talk about what they learn with their parents, okay? Which is a very, very important thing. Why is it important for adults?
Too many reasons.
Yeah, way too many reasons. How many of you have ever gotten a call from a child and it was great? And the kid was calm, and they answered all the questions, and they didn't yell, and they gave you all the information? And then the next call you got was from an adult. Just get somebody here. Why are you asking me these questions? Just get them here. I don't know where I am. I don't know what my phone number is. Do you know what the emergency is? Okay, so do adults have all the answers? Not usually. Know that. And so people are going to have emergencies, and they don't plan them, and they always assume that it's never going to happen to them. I'm not going to have an emergency. That's going to be somebody else until it happens to them. And they do know to call 911.
No, they don't. They call their spouse or they call somebody.
Yeah, they do. They do. You're right. They do. But the ones who do call 911, what's the location of your emergency? Yeah, I don't know. I'm on the highway. Okay, what highway? What city are you in? Oh, city. Yeah. I'm not sure. Okay, well, I kind of need to know because if you're in Dallas, I need to transfer you. If you're in Allen, I need to transfer. If you're in Plano, I can help you. Where are you? What do you see? Do you see an exit sign? Do you see a business? Give us a little help here. Okay, just a little help. Okay, what's the phone number that you're calling from? Hold on, just a second. It's my cell phone, and I never call myself, so I don't actually know that number. Anybody here had that one? Yeah, that happens a lot. They don't know their location. They don't know their phone number. They do know that they need a police officer. Well, maybe they need a police officer. They kind of need a police officer, and it's a really long story, and they want to explain 2 months' worth of garbage. No, what's happening now? Why do you need help now? What's the reason that you're calling now? Give us the information that we need. Then we can go back and talk about the backstory, but give us the information that we have now. I think some of our adults are some of our most difficult callers. Number one, they think they already know everything, and there's nothing that you can teach them. Number two, I call it the CSI factor. They watch way too much television. Way too much television. And they believe, like on CSI, that not only can we find them, we can pinpoint their location, we can tell them that they are in this building, on this floor, in this office. And we all know that's not true. Okay. And sometimes they'll argue with you. I've had screaming matches in the mall with a gentleman who insisted that my phone has GPS and you know where I am. And I just kind of chuckle. No, sir, we don't know exactly where you are. We have an approximate location. Approximate. And if you're having an emergency, do you want me to know exactly where you are or approximately where you are? Well, I want you to know exactly. Then exactly, you need to tell me. You have to tell me exactly where you are. Okay. All right, so we've talked about adults. So now we're going to talk about senior citizens. Why do senior citizens know? Senior citizens don't like to call us at all. I don't want to bother you. I don't want to bother. I'll call my son. I'll call my daughter. Okay. They need the 911 education. Okay. They are more active. They are more independent. They want to go places. They want to do things. But they're also going to have emergencies, and they don't want to bother. So they may be lying on the floor, and they will still call someone else. My mother is a prime example of this. She knew, well, she's gone now, but when she was alive, she knew where I worked. And she calls me one day, hey, Susan, can you come over? Sure, Mom, when do you need me to come? Now? Okay, I'll be right there. Okay, I'm going to my mom's house. I didn't take a key. My mom's home. I don't need my house key. And I get there and all the doors are locked. And my mom's not answering the door. Okay, this is not good, so I'm checking all the windows. And I know that she's there, her car's there, but everything's locked down tight. I literally have to break in to my mom's house and climb through the kitchen window. And there's my mom laying on the floor, and she had fallen. She couldn't get up. Mom, what are you doing? I need some help. Okay, at the time, I was maybe 120 pounds soaking wet. My mother is a very large, she's about 6 foot, and she's not a little woman. And I'm looking at her, and I'm looking at me. There's a math problem here, and I can't solve it, because there's no way I can get my mother up off the floor. Mom, why didn't you call 911? Well, no, I called you. Mom, I'm not equipped for this. So, what do? I get to call 911. Hobbs 911, what's the address of your emergency? Yeah, I need an ambulance at 503 East Llano Grande. That's 503 East Llano Grande, Llano Grande. Phone numbers, 505-393-3833. I've got a 53-year-old female. She is conscious and alert, and she has fallen. Who is this again? This is Susan. Oh, I should have known. That was the best med call I've ever gotten. Okay, it was the best med call they'd ever gotten because I knew exactly what they were going to ask. They didn't ask me to repeat the address for verification because I gave it to them twice. They didn't ask me for the phone number because I said it in a calm enough voice that they were able to understand it. I gave them consciousness. I gave them breathing. I gave them everything that they needed. Why? Because I knew what to expect. Okay. Now, could I have done that before I started working for the 911 center? Not on your life. I'd have been the screaming Mimi. Help! Get somebody here. My mom's fallen. So, like I said, for senior citizens, you want to make sure that they know that it's okay to call. All right, next, we're going to talk about businesses. Businesses are one of my favorite things. I love to go out and educate businesses because they contain adults who think they already know everything. It's greatness. And I usually give them a 911 quiz. And it's just 5 questions. And it's super easy, and I just hand it out when I go to the businesses. Okay, everybody fill this out. And don't ask someone else. You have to use your own information. And if you don't know, it's okay to say you don't know. But I ask them, like I said, it's 5 quick questions. One of them is, what is the address that you are currently at right now? Okay, it's their job. It's where they go to work every day. And I ask them for the address. I ask them if they understand, if they know, if the person who's answering their phone is also the same person who is sending them help. I want to know if they think that they can text to 911. Just basic information, and then I pick them all up. And I tell them, after I'm done, you're going to know all the answers. I ask them the non-emergency number. Do you know the non-emergency number? Okay. And most of the time they say 411. I feel bad for the 411 operators because they think that they're going to help somebody with some information and they really need a police response. And then when I'm done, like I said, I go back to my office and I look at all the things and I tell them, I'm able to tell their bosses who had me come out and talk to them, did you know that only about 5 of your employees knew the non-emergency number? And there were only maybe 7 that actually knew the address of your business. 7. I talked to 50 people, and you had 7 people who actually knew where they were. So if you have an emergency at your business, I'm hoping one of the 7 who knows where they work are one of the ones who is actually going to call 911 because that will make things much easier for us. I explained to them how we operate, and every agency is a little bit different. So if your call takers and your dispatchers are the same, then they need to know that person who they're talking to is the same person who's going to send help. For us, we have call takers and we have dispatchers. So that person who's talking to them on the phone, asking them the questions, is not the same person who's dispatching help. But they work together and they work at the same time. So it's good information to know. We talk about PBX lines, dialing 9 to get out. especially important for your hotels. It's also important for your larger businesses that do have those PBX numbers. The exact location within the business, we have some fairly large campuses in Plano. We've got the JCPenney headquarters, we've got the Frito-Lay headquarters, we've got several large hospitals, we've got Capital One that's a multi-campus, and then we've got some special circumstances, which are combination nursing home, assisted living centers. And don't you know, our employees love those places. Are you on the assisted living side or the nursing home side? And probably about half the time they'll tell us the wrong side. So we've got ambulances going to the assisted living side when it's actually the nursing home side, or going to the nursing home side when it's actually the assisted living. And again, I try and stress to them, we need to know exactly where in the building you are or which building you're in, because that's going to speed up their response. Biggest thing, if you contact a business and then they don't want to tell you, if they don't want to let you come out, I'll admit I shamed Walmart into letting me do 911 education for their employees. I did. I totally shamed them. I talked to the manager and he goes, no, I think we're good. Really? Because we talk to your loss prevention people on a regular basis and they don't really know. And I said, and it's not always loss prevention that calls. And would you like for your Walmart to be on the 6 o'clock news? What? Yeah, Walmart employee fails to do the right thing to get help to the customer and the customer died. What? Yeah. Wouldn't that be a great story? Or would the better story be not a Walmart employee saves customer, does the right thing? Yeah, that's a much better story. Yeah, you need to educate your employees. I want scenario number 2 on the 6 o'clock news about how your employees did a fabulous job because you provided emergency training, you provided 911 training for your employees, and the 911 center did a great job, and Walmart did a great job, and woohoo, we saved a person.
Help you if you don't have budgeting, you're trying to get one. You know, if you want to go to your boss and say, hey, you know, we're doing a lot more PubEd now, and we need a little money here. Because, you know, I can talk the talk all day long, but I want to give the kids something for coming to me and learning from me. And so, you know, and this is a way that you can let them know, hey, this is what we need, this is how many we need, this is what, you know, this is a couple of good vendors we could use, here's the cost of it. Lays it right out in front of them. And my new director, he likes that. So I try to get all my ducks in a row and lay it out so that, you know, he can see it before it happens, especially. So anyway, how many of you know, have the ability to spend any of your budget money at your agency? You know, very, very few. But how many of you have to go and ask for things and then you're either said yes or no? So in that case, this would maybe be a good outline for you to start with. It's actually, you know, quite old, but it would be a good outline for you to start with, just to say, hey, this is what I need. You know, here it is.
Are you going to share a more current one?
No. Sorry. Okay. That's because I don't have a budget anymore. I would share it if I had my numbers.
This is the most recent.
Actually, probably 2012 is, but I didn't have a nice, pretty, copy. But yeah, unfortunately, you know, my strategy in getting things and getting my new director to let me purchase things will be to present it first and tell them why we need it and what we need and how much it's going to cost, and then I'll get the approval or I won't. You know, it really seems to be the trend now is to request before you plan anything at all. So you got to really think ahead, way ahead, you know. I mean, if you've got a program that you want to implement, I don't know about y'all, but I know that in all the years that I've done this, I really love getting specific items for specific events. You know, for July the 4th, I like to get glow things for the kids. You know, anything that glows. whether it's, the glow bracelets or the necklaces that you crack and they glow or whatever. They love that stuff. And it's, the message may not be in their face like a brochure, but they're not going to read the brochure. They're not going to play with it. They're not going to touch it. Their parents are going to put it in their bag, and it's going in the trash when they go home. The glow stick or whatever is going to be used, played with, looked at, head over the head, whatever. And so I find that that's, probably a better use of that product. It also entices them to communicate with you. Susan taught me a long time ago not to give those products to kids unless they come and talk to you and do something. Don't just hand it to them. She makes them participate. She's like, oh, no. Yeah. That's right. Come over here and answer a couple questions. We're going to play on this unit or whatever, and then you get a toy. Obviously, even if you're told no, that you can't have a budget, Susan is going to teach you how to get what you want. She can do that. She's very good.
We are going to talk about no budget. And I've got a little, I actually have a small budget. I don't know of any home rule city that just has a massive budget. But I do have a small budget, but I have to be very frugal with what I have, and so I have to use my resources. So we're going to talk about things that you can do for zero money. My agency loves when I do stuff for zero money. Okay? Even the agencies with big budgets still love for you to do things with zero money, because that lets them be able to use what they do have for even better. So everyone here has a voice, correct? You can go out and speak. All it costs is your time. So $0. You can do PowerPoint presentations, okay? Just about every computer system has some sort of presentation program that you can use. So you can do a PowerPoint presentation. Anybody here have a website for your agency? Do you have a public education page? If you don't, why not? Why don't you? Have those frequently asked questions. Have a page with some cell phone Sally coloring sheets, activities, things that you can do that people can download. Okay, it's costing their ink, it's costing their paper. All you're doing is putting the information out there for them. Post your 911 quiz on your website. It gives you an opportunity to gather some of that data that you need. I do not have the same budget that Elisa has. Elisa, I consider her the sky's the limit budget.
Is that true?
Okay, she has a limit, but compared to mine, it is sky's the limit, okay? Because I can't afford to hire a big research company to go out and do a survey, but I can do my own survey. I do use an app called PubEd. You can do online surveys. I could do offline surveys on my iPad and then upload the data whenever I get close to a Wi-Fi connection. So if you're at that public event where you don't have a Wi-Fi connection, no problem. Okay, do it offline. And they're one of the few survey companies that actually does it offline. And if you're not using a lot of data or you're not surveying a lot of people, it's perfect. It is limited. You can, like I said, we've talked about updating your website, having your public education page. You can submit an article to your local newspaper, especially if it's a slow news day. They can put it on their online. They can put it on their print, and that usually doesn't cost you anything. You can also ask for donations. Okay, donations, Walmart, Target. Walmart used to have a neighborhood hero program where you could basically go in and get a grant. They actually used that to get my Reddy Fox costume when we were still doing Reddy Fox. But you can ask for donations of your local vendor. Make sure that you clear it with your organization first. Not all PSAPs will allow you to ask for donations. Okay, some of them frown upon it very much so. You can look for grants though. So if you've got grant writing experience, that's a great way. There are some grants available out there. Be creative with your office supply budget. And once I get through talking, we're actually going to do a little exercise, and I'm going to have you guys see what you guys can come up with. And we're going to be creative with your office supply budget. But paper, Pens, paper clips, all of those are what? Office supplies. There's not anything that says that you can't take your office supply and put a nice PubEd message on the side of it. Pens are office supplies, okay? Everybody here's got copy paper at work and a copy machine. So print up your flyer, print it out on regular paper. It may not be pretty, but it'll still be effective, okay? Like I said, your computer plus your copier plus your paper equals your flyer or your brochure, okay? And if you've got a color copier, then you can just spruce it up and make it that much nicer. But use what you have, okay? Like I said, pens and a snappy slogan could be your PubEd message. Your personal websites, your personal social media accounts. I know my friends are like, oh God, we know what you do. Would you stop already with the 911 messages? No, because I am the 911 lady, and it's my job. And so if every now and then I have to hound my family and friends and give them some important information that they think they already know, but they don't, do that. And if your city has a Facebook page, please utilize it. Use their Facebook, their Twitter, all your social media. Do some fundraising on your own. No, that's not the greatest way to do it, but if you're really, really determined, you will find a way. And if that could be, you know, you're selling magazine subscriptions or whatever. In our agency, actually, we did magazine subscriptions once. We've sold chocolate bars. We've sold snacks and drinks, yes, to our dispatchers. Usually this money goes towards the events committee, though, so it allows us to do some appreciation that we might not otherwise be able to do. We have bake sales, okay, and we always try and make them fun. You can do raffles and then barter. I work a lot with Kelly and Elisa and Sandy, and they talk about these great public education campaigns that cost tens of thousands of dollars that City of Plano does not have. But I'm great with coming up with a slogan. I'm great with doing whatever legwork they want me to do. I can Google like nobody's business. I can do creative work. I can help come up with a layout. I can, you know, proofread. I can come up with fonts. I can help write a press release if needed. If we need a script, I'll do whatever they need me to do in order for me to be able to participate in their initiatives. So even though I don't have the tens of thousands of dollars to contribute, my agency is still benefiting from whatever public education efforts or regionally that they're doing. So the TV ads are still being shown in Plano. No, they're not going to put a billboard in Plano because I didn't have the money, but there's going to be billboards in surrounding areas. And you're in the Metroplex. People are going to be driving through different areas. So we're still going to benefit that. If they do a newspaper ad and it's in the Dallas Morning News is in Plano. So yeah, we're going to benefit from that. So whatever you can do. If you have a smartphone, there are some apps that you can use that are absolutely free. These are my grandsons, by the way. They're adorable. Okay, first one is called Teach 911. And it is a lovely little app that you can use. Again, the simulator is great, but if you've got kids and they've never even seen a landline phone, they don't know what to do with that. And you literally have to explain to them, which is fine, they need to know. But this one happens to have two different modes. An assistance mode, which if you push on the assistance mode, it directs them to exactly what they need to push in order to make the call go. This is an app. Okay? So what does the smartphone have to do? Because you need to have the your phone to put the app onto so that you can use it at your presentations. iPad, iPhone, some of them work on Android. I don't know if Teach 911 is not Android. So if you've got an Apple device, an iDevice, this is a great app. I love this one because it actually looks like a phone. Okay, there is another one that is the advanced mode. And on advanced mode, they have to figure it out on their own. And the great thing I like about this is every kid knows how to make a phone call on the phone. And they go, oh, yeah. And then it doesn't pull up the keypad. Okay, how many of you, whenever you go to make a phone call and you push your phone button, it pulls up your most recent contacts, your recently dialed list, or your voicemail? Yeah, most phones do that. So this actually makes them look for and push the keypad function. So that way they're able to pull it up and then to actually dial. And it does have an audio. I've got it turned down because I don't use their audio, because their audio says, "What is your emergency?" No, I want them to know what is the location of your emergency. So I answer it the same way we would answer it at my agency. Plano 911, what's the location of your emergency? And then I make the kids tell me. I use this for my tours. If I've got a tour for a scout group, which also is free, by the way, all it takes is your time, this is what I use. We talk about 911, we talk about what we do, we talk about the questions that we're going to ask, and then at the end, everybody lines up and they don't get a goodie bag. They don't get pencils and stickers and cool stuff until they do the simulator and they show me that they know how to dial 911, that they know their location, their address, they know their phone number. They don't get anything until that. And if they don't know, that's fine, but there's usually an adult there. And I make sure that the adult knows, hey, we need to practice our address or we need to practice our phone number. So that way they know what they need to work on. My public education program has been almost cut 2-3 times completely out, to the point that I was pulled into my director's office and asked to have a seat. Susan, we're here to let you know that the budget numbers are not good. And the city has decided that we have to cut programs. I was programs. Your public education position and the public education function is gone. Gone. Done. You'll be able to finish out the fiscal year, and then starting with the new budget cycle, it'll be gone. Don't worry, you're not being fired. We will have a position for you, but that's going to mean that you're going to have to go back out on the floor. You're going to have to go back into dispatch. We understand that you're going to need to be retrained because it's been quite a while, but we're going to provide the training for you, and it's going to be fine. But you're going to have a position, so it's okay. Okay. Honestly, I felt like they had just ripped my heart out.
When was this?
This was several years ago. In fact, I want to say probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
4 or 5.
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago. Okay. So yeah, it was gone. Okay, and I had already been told, Susan, we need you to prove that your education program works. Well, what more do you want? I'm telling you how many people I'm contacting. I'm telling you how much material I'm passing out. I'm giving you all this information. Yeah, but we need to be able to prove that it works. How do you prove that a prevention program works? What if I talk to the person and I gave them great information and they've got this knowledge now, but they never call 911? How can I prove that? How can I prove that? And those are my 2 big dilemmas. Luckily for me, I had 2 kid heroes within a couple of months of each other. One of them, the mother called and she said, hey, I'm not sure who I need to talk to, but my kid needs to be recognized. And I said, okay, I need some more details. Can you tell me what happened? Yeah, my son saved my life. Awesome, but I need more details. You're going to have to tell me, when did this happen? Okay, granted, she's calling me and it's June. I said, when did this happen? She was April. Okay, and you're just now calling me. And at the time, we only kept 911 calls for 60 days. So the call was gone. I had no record of the call other than our incident report. I go, okay, let me do some research, and I'll call you back. So I go to the call taker. Hey, do you remember this call? Susan, that was like 3 months ago. Do you realize how many calls I've taken? Yeah, but it was a kid. Yeah, they called. They said they needed an ambulance. We sent an ambulance. They transported the mom. That's all I know. Ew, okay, that doesn't help me. So I called the fire department. Hey, you guys transported this person. Mom says that the kid saved her life. what do you know? Yeah, we transported. We took her to the hospital. That's all we know. Yeah, you're not helping me any. I called the hospital. Hey, this woman says that her kid deserves a medal, that he saved her life. I just need to know, was it good or not? It went all the way up to the medical director, and the medical director finally called and said, give the kid a medal. It's like, what? Give the kid a medal. Okay, I need some more information. Can you tell me what happened? He said, long story short, she had a traumatic brain injury. Her 10-year-old son called 911 and saved her life. So I'm like, okay, good. So I called the lady back and I said, we can recognize him because yes, he did indeed save your life. But where did he learn about 911? Oh, I'm sure that his father and I taught him that information. Not what I needed to hear. And I said, okay, great. I said, well, let me work out some details and I'm going to call you back. The next day she called me. She said, Susan, I really need to call you back because I talked to my husband. We'd never had the conversation about 911 because we assumed that one of us would be there to always handle it. And if not one of us, then the nanny. Okay, great. So where does your son go to school? And she told me the name of the school. Score, it was one of my schools. And she said, he learned at school. Somebody at school taught him how to call 911. That's how he knew. And it was one of my schools. And I said, awesome. I said, and your son is how old? And so I'm doing the math, and I was like, oh, yes, that was me. I said, I actually taught your son how to dial 911. She goes, you did? And I said, yeah, we have 911 education in the schools. I said, well, okay, we did. It's going away at the end of September. What? I said, yeah, there's no funding, and it's going away. And she said, but what about the other kids who need to know how to call 911? And I said, well, there's not any money, and it's going away. And she said, but this is not right. Who do I need to call? Who do I need to contact? And I said, well, I can't really tell you who to call, but you can feel free to contact any of the city officials. And here's their information. I said that on my unrecorded line, by the way.
Well, now you're recorded. Great.
Yeah, no. I told her she could contact the city officials. The information was on the website. I didn't give her their numbers, but the information was on the website. And so we had her Kid Hero program, and we were there to recognize her son. And the mayor is there, and I'm standing there next to the family. I'm like, I'm so glad you guys are all here, and it's all three of her sons. And it wasn't her oldest son. It was her middle son who called. And the mayor comes up, and he's introducing himself. And she says, it's the funniest thing ever. She says, Mayor Dyer, have you met Susan Rodriguez? And I'm saying like, oh, here we go. And he goes, no, I don't think I have. And he introduces himself, Mayor Dyer, this is Susan Rodriguez, the 911 educator. Did you know that she's the one who taught my child how to call 911, and she's the reason that I am still here? She saved my life. This is a great program, and it really shouldn't go away.
Wow.
Alrighty then. I was like, ooh, I couldn't have asked for anything better. And I didn't coach her on that. She did that all on her own. I was, like I said, sitting there shocked. Oh, she just said really nice things to the mayor. This is awesome. A month later, we had a 13-year-old girl who called 911. She was babysitting her infant sister, and bad guys came into her house. She called 911. They caught the bad guys in her house. We had a big press conference. The police department wanted to do a big deal because we caught the bad guys. And so I had two within a very short time. And the next thing I knew, the 911 program wasn't going away. It was staying. But in order to make sure that it stayed, there are some things that I knew that I had to do. I had to get those measurements. I had to get them documentation. They needed to know that it actually did work, that it was indeed making a difference. One of the best things I ever did was Cell Phone Sally. I told you about the pre and post test. Okay, that's included within the program. When you give the information to the teachers, it has the pre and post test. In order to make sure that I get the information, I use the electronic version of the pre and post test, and I email it to the teacher before I go. Hey, don't forget, I'm coming on Tuesday. So on Monday, if you could go ahead and ask the kids the questions on the pre-test, that would be great. Just document all the information, and then if you'll ask them again after I'm gone, and then just email the information back to me, that would be wonderful. Then I'm able to pull all the data from all of my teachers at the end of the year, and I can average them out and say, okay, there are 7 questions on the pre and post test. The questions are the same for pre and post. This is how much they knew for this question before I got there. This is how much they knew after I left for each individual question. Okay, the first time that I have to do a community involvement report at the end of every year, and I talk to them, I do how many presentations I did, how many people that I talked to, how many adults, how many children, what we did that we were in the community for, and then I push in my little bar graph. This is what they knew before and after. And then I plug in my Poll Daddy results. At different community events, we used our 911 quiz. This is what information they knew before I talked to them. After talking to them, they had all of this information and they knew the correct answers. So I'm able to show that there was a transference of knowledge. Okay, those 2 things, having a Kid Hero program, showing that public education did work, and you always ask. If you get a Kid Hero, you always ask, where did you learn how to dial 911, especially if you have a program.
Some of us do have some money, but we have to use it wisely. We have to stretch it. So a couple ways that we can stretch it. We talked about, one thing that I found that help is these co-op orders. Those are great because you buy in, like all of the state of Texas, the National Public, or the PETS, Public Educators of Texas, we all buy in and drive the price down. We pass these around. These are a couple of the items that we bought on co-op. These are cute little bookmarks that have sayings on the back. They were, I think they came out to be like 3 cents each. So in the grand scheme of things, that's really good. If you want to bust them open and take one of each, so you can have those. So co-ops, so going in with other people to make the purchases and drive the price down. Going backwards. Incorporate all the budget to know ideas. So using the things that, sorry, allergies are getting me. The no budget ideas and paper products. You can make coloring sheets. CSEG has Cell Phone Sally pages on their website. You can print those out. Printing paper doesn't cost that much. And then use the money that you have wisely. And pass these around. This is something that I did with our tag team. So some of you may already be familiar with this. We thought about, how can we stretch our money? And where's the store that you go to if you want to buy something for cheap? What store do you go to and you can get a whole bunch? Dollar store. So what we did, and coming around is, Susan said you have to have a plan and you have to prove it. Oh, yeah. I should have kept one of these. On here, let me steal one of these. Sorry. When we bought these in the past, these little packages of tissue, we bought them for 61 cents each. We made them ourselves, and they cost 23 cents each.
Hey, we made these.
Yeah.
You do. I think these are the ones the kids made, so they're not as neat as y'all's. So we saved 38 cents a pack by creating them ourselves. Yeah. And here, using it this way, you can create your own slogan, change it whenever you want, and it's something practical. Because we all talk about, you give somebody something and they just throw it away. A pamphlet, no one wants a pamphlet. But this is just a cute little thing where you can quickly look at it and see it and then use it. And hopefully it'll stick with you because it has a cute slogan on it.
Because we are, I guess, kind of funded differently, I think, and governed differently, then I do have a healthier budget than councils of governments or home rule cities. We're governed by a board of managers that are appointed by the major entities that make up our district. So we have Our board is made up of 7 people. The city of Fort Worth appoints 2 folks to our board. The city of Arlington has 1 appointee. Grand Prairie has 1. Irving has 1. The Tarrant County Mayor's Council has 1, and County Commissioners Court has 1. So that's 7 appointees. So that's how we're governed. We don't have to report to CSEC like the councils of governments do. So our board kind of manages our funds and makes decisions with our funding. So they believe in public education. That's a good thing, is to have board members and a director who believe in the value of public education. And so by virtue of that fact, of our agency's budget, 1% is public education. So I don't have an unlimited budget, but I have more than the rest of you probably do because of my population as well. Same as with Sandy. She has a healthy budget. Of course, I have more than her because my population is 2.1 million, and hers is whatever it is. So I am able to do a little bit more. I can't. These are some of the things I can't do. So I've got 50 PSAPs. I can't order this stuff and put DFW Airport 911. I can't order enough for them. I can't order enough for Arlington, Azle, Bedford, Benbrook, Colleyville, all 50 PSAPs. I wish I could, but I can't. So everything I order has to be generic. There's one group, I think it's Grapevine PSAP, and the Grape Fest, this wine thing they have each year, and they have 20, 30,000 people that go to Grape Fest. And on their order request, they put 20,000 of everything. I cannot fulfill those types of requests. I may only buy, I don't know, 20,000 of something. So in a county with God knows how many school districts and schools, I can't fulfill requests for 5,000 of everything I have. It's not doable. So I do have a budget, but I have a large area. And so I'm fiscally conservative. And like Susan said earlier, if I don't just give the stuff out. If you're not doing, I question people. When they fill out that form and say it's for their church, I have to pick up the phone and say, it's for your church what? Oh, it's for our church fashion show. Oh, well, no. We don't give out our materials for that. Are you going to be talking about, are you going to be teaching the deaconess about 911, or it's just you need bag stuffers for your fashion show? And so I don't give out our stuff for that. So I pay real close attention to it. It's it's for public education purposes. For example, our advertising campaign in April might end up at $90,000, and I'm contributing $30,000 or $40,000. But the value I get is I'm getting $90,000 worth of ads because she's chipping in and she's chipping in, and the city of Dallas is chipping in. So our budget for it is bigger. So instead of getting $30,000 value, I'm getting $90,000 value, and our reach is expanded. So we're educating more people. We're able to put up more billboards or run more television spots. Gives my media buyer more negotiating power when she's got more dollars. So we also get a lot of bonus spots because we've been doing an ad campaign for probably 15 years. So, but I budget $75,000 a year for advertising. And I do co-op. Like I said, it helps me out. Me and Sonia from Harris County, they're huge. Sometimes we'll get together. A lot of times we'll get together and buy stuff and drop our price even lower than I can purchase on my own. I don't have to co-op, but I do help others and co-op with Sonia to get a greater discount. I think we're doing some dispatcher briefcase bags for April. And Sonia, I only need 1,000 because I have 860 call takers and dispatchers, but I always order 1,000. And Sonia orders 1,200. And so our price goes way down when we order.
Some of the examples you can see on your list: civic groups, Kiwanis groups, you know, the Meals on Wheels, the care programs, the neighborhood watches. All of these things you're going to find either on the city websites or when you call. Make your connections there, and you'll find out what they have going on. The neighborhood crime watch groups, the community event coordinators, those are good people to talk to and develop relationships with. Whoever's in charge of doing that for their city. Some of my cities are so small that the city secretary does it. So that's who I go to talk about what you got cooking this year. You know, do you want 911 there? What can we do? What can we do for this wonderful relationship? How can we help you and how can you help us? And what I've found over the years is that some of your contacts for your cities, those people change a lot. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but school resource officers change out. Sometimes they change out every 6 months. I mean, that's been my experience. And then other times they change out every year. So my contacts change quite often. So that's the matrix that I'll keep, and that way I will always know, who's my new contact, and I'll get to know them that way. What messages do I want to give this year? Obviously, who all do we want to focus on and go to, and what parts of the community do we want to be in, what parts are not appropriate, and those kind of things. Like Elisa alluded to earlier, I've had plenty of times where somebody's called me up and said, yeah, we're having a tea party and we want some stuff, or, we're having some kind of an event that could not possibly involve 911 in any way, shape, or form. And I've had to start saying no to those people, But it's important. Right. My bowling league, yeah. My bowling league wants to party on Wednesday night. Do you have any chip clips? Because we're going to have pizza and chicken. Exactly. Anyway, right. So, so we're trying to make those conscious decisions about what do we want to do, where do we want to be, and when do we want to be there. So those questions are hard to answer when you have 50,000 community events in one person. I'm bigger than Lisa, but I still can't do all that. Can't spread me out that far.
Let's start with children. Children they're like little sponges. I just love children because they do everything that you say. They hang on your every word. It's the coolest thing ever. Recommended age, like I said, I do recommend starting at the age of 4. Anything younger, they don't have the motor skills, they don't have the attention span, and you're kind of wasting your time. So 4 is the age that I recommend, and I know that CSEC, I think, actually has the recommendations on that as well. Now, how do children learn? Well, they're just like everybody else. They learn in a variety of different ways. Some of them learn by seeing. So it's important to put something in there that's visual. They learn by hearing, they learn by doing, and they learn by touching. If you can involve all of those, then you're going to touch on every child's way of learning. I'm one of those people that I have to do it. I want to see it and I want to hear it, but I really need to do it in order for me to grasp it. Some people, they can read it and they've got it. My husband is that way. I hate him. No, I don't hate him. He's fabulous, but he learns much easier than I do because he can read the manual and go, okay, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Me, I can read the manual and then I have to go step by step through the manual and I actually have to do it. So videos, songs, all of those things are really, really important. The Cell Phone Sally, I said I'm kind of proud of Cell Phone Sally. I'm proud of the actual program that we have because it involves music, It is visual. What I do with the children is I do Cell Phone Sally presentation. I start out and I tell them, okay, everybody, we're gonna watch the Cell Phone Sally video. Cell Phone Sally and all of her friends are going to teach us all the different ways to call 911, and they're also going to teach us what to say and how to actually do it. So then we play the video. After we do the video, then I do emergency or not quite an emergency. And so what I have are these fabulous little flip cards, and I hold up the picture. Okay, it's visual, but I need them to respond to me. Is this an emergency? Yeah, that's an emergency. All right, what about this? Bad guy breaking in. Is that an emergency? Yeah, definitely. Someone is choking. Is that an emergency? Well, maybe. It depends on the I swallowed wrong choking or the that's a real emergency. Someone is drowning. We talk on, don't go in to jump to save the person. That's not your responsibility. If there's a car accident, we talk about the different types of car accidents. If there's a really bad accident and somebody's hurt, or dad happened to back into a car at the mall. So we're able to distinguish what's an emergency and what's not. This one's probably one of my favorites. Your sink is overflowing. Is that an emergency? And some kid will go, yeah, the water's going to get everywhere. Okay, and then I can explain to him, we don't have plumbers at 911. The difference between I've got an owie and I broke my leg. And we talk about animals. So we do this type of game as well. Another thing is I always try and have a time for questions. Now, with children, there's one thing that you should be aware of. You never just open it up to questions. You say, does everybody know the difference between a story and a question? A story is this one time, and a question is when you want to know something. And if you start to tell me a story, I'm going to stop you and I'm going to move on to the next person because I want to make sure that I'm answering your questions. Okay? And I was actually told once that was rude. And I said, no, there's a method to my madness. Actually, I was told I was rude, and then a teacher told me I was a genius. Because if you just let them have free reign, this one time the police came and they took my mommy to jail because she beat up my daddy. Or you get the, what if this happens? There are things that if you hear in a classroom, you may be required by law to report to the authorities. I try to avoid those situations. So I listen to their questions, and if they start out this one time, I'm sorry, honey, that's a story. Did you have a question? Go ahead. What is your question? And I always answer their questions. But they're kids, okay? They're going to try and stump you. Be ready, okay? My greatest question ever was, what if your house is on fire and you're in a room, but there's no doors and no windows?
Every class. Yes. Every class they ask that.
And your response is, how did you get in? Be aware, that one's going to get asked. Or, do your parents not like you that they built a room around you? Okay, and then usually the other kids will kind of chuckle. Okay, you can expect that one. That one is a given. Okay, it's going to happen. Like I said, and they will try and stump you, and it becomes a challenge. Stump the 911 lady. What if? And they will think of the biggest disaster. Okay, when they use the simulator, you do not let them pick their own emergency. Never. Never. Never, never, never. You give them a card and says, your emergency is, your dad fell out of the tree and broke his leg. Your emergency is, your friend is choking on the M&Ms and mom's in the shower. What do you do? I never let them pick their own emergency. You kind of have to tailor the amount of time that you spend on your presentation based on the age of your children. Second graders have a much greater attention span than preschoolers. So preschoolers, yeah, you've got maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then after that, you've kind of lost them. Preschool, they get the Cell Phone Sally video, and that's it. If it's an actual grade level, they get a full 45 minutes, thereabouts, but usually I'll try and give everybody a stretch break. Okay, but you want to make sure, like I said, that you can find them in the schools. Make sure that you get permission to be there. You can do daycares. You can do homeschools. If you don't know the homeschool groups in your area, Google homeschool groups in wherever you're at, and there will be a list. Okay, safety fairs, and definitely your scouts, your scout groups. They need activities for badges. And sometimes it's as simple as a tour, but sometimes they want a little something more, and they actually want a presentation. But like I said, these are for children. Teens and tweens. Love teens and tweens. These are your 9 to 12. They're kind of a little bit difficult because they're almost at the verge where they know everything, but not quite. They're unsure. They think they know everything, but they're still a little cautious about it. Your teens are actually the ones that they think they know everything, and you're dumb as a box of rocks, and there's absolutely nothing that you can teach them. But it is your job to actually teach them. They learn the same way as everybody else. Some of them are visual, some of them are auditory, some of them are by doing, some by touching. Keep it interactive, especially for this age group, because if you're not keeping it interactive, you're going to lose them. You want to make sure and keep it on their level. Make it personal. They also think that nothing bad can ever happen to them. So if you've got some calls that were involving teens or tweens, that's good. It makes it personal for them, because, oh, wait a minute. If it happened to Joe, who happens to be the same age as me, it might happen to me. Okay, so if you can, make it personal. Again, your schools, your homeschool groups, library groups, special clubs, driver's education classes, which is a great one, and safety fairs. Now, what are your challenges? They've got it all figured out, and they're bulletproof. They'll tell you, nothing bad's ever going to happen to me. You're selecting your promotional items for this group. Earbuds, if you've got the budget for it. If not, one of the cool things that I found was the thumb rings. And because we can't text in our city, all the thumb rings had you can't text 911 message on them. Okay, so they were inexpensive, and they were kind of cool. Kids love bracelets. They still love slap bracelets at that age, amazingly enough. So some of the stuff that you can use for the younger kids, you can also use for your teens and tweens. So now let's talk about those adults, and we're all adults in the room. So let's not hurt anyone's feelings, but they're 18 to 60. Again, you've got a variety of different learning styles, so you want to try and touch on all of them. It does need to be informative. Just like the kids, I do try and make it personal. It needs to be thought-provoking. If you can play sound clips, if you can do role-playing. I've had adults do the 911 simulator. The biggest things for our agency is they need to know that we're asking the questions for a reason. Okay? Not just because we're nosy, because we're not, but those police officers and those firefighters and those paramedics need to know what they're getting into. And that's why we're asking so many questions. But they don't understand all of the questions. Is your gate locked on your fence? Do you have a dog? What kind of dog do you have? And people get mad. Why do you need to know what kind of dog I've got? Well, we're sending a police officer, and most likely he's going to jump your fence to look for your bad guy. And if your Rottweiler, Tiny, decides to use my police officer as a chew toy, he is not going to be very effective at catching your bad guy. Oh, that makes perfect sense now that you put it that way. Or when the paramedics come and we ask you to put your dogs away, it's because I don't care if all you've got is Chihuahuas. Okay, I have 3. They will try and eat you from the ankles up because they don't know that you're there to help. All they know is their person and strangers. You are a strange person in their home. They're going to try and eat you for messing with their owner. Put your dogs in another room. We ask about weapons and explaining to the citizens why we're asking those questions. Yes, this is Texas. Yes, people are armed. And that's okay until the police officer arrives and it's dark and you can't see and you mistake the police officer as the bad guy. If you shoot our police officer, he can't catch your bad guy. Or if the police officer sees a person with a gun and it's you and they mistake you for the bad guy, are either one of those scenarios good? Oh, well, I never thought about that. They don't understand the roles of the responders. They don't understand what they're looking for. They don't understand why we ask so many questions. So whatever I can do to explain, this is why we're asking this. This is why we need this information. This information is going here. So that way when the paramedic arrives, they know that they need to bring the defibrillator. They know that they need to bring the cardiac drugs. And they've got specific equipment to handle your heart attack versus you're having a seizure. They need different equipment for different types of emergencies. So whatever we can give them is beneficial. Again, you still want to keep it current. You still want to keep away from those industry terms. You want to make sure that it's in plain English so that way they're able to understand you. Don't understand the process, like I said. So if I can explain to them that this call taker is going to stay on the line with you sometimes until they arrive, we're assessing the situation, we're updating the officers, or we're providing pre-arrival instructions to help you in a medical emergency until the paramedics get there. It's all meant for your benefit. And someone else is dispatching, but there's a mentality of, this person is on the phone with me and they are not sending help until they've asked me every question under the sun. And we all know that that's not the reality. So whatever we can do to assure them, hey, this is what this person's role is. This is what this person's role is. And they work at the same time. One doesn't have to wait for the other. Okay, they can both do what they do. Where can you find them? I do offer tours. That's a great way to get them. Your Citizens Academy. In our city, we have a police academy, a fire academy, senior academy, a youth academy, a government academy. There are lots of academies. I do offer, like I said, business education as well, that I can go out and talk to those businesses. I do safety fairs. I also do inserts in our utility bill. If your city or your county has a water bill or something that's going out to your citizens, usually on the back of the water bill there's blank space and there's an opportunity to put something on that. Or if you're like our city, they actually make allowances for extra pages to be able to be inserted into the water bill, so we can get a message out that way. And if you go paperless, there's a link that you click whenever you get your email for your water bill that says, hey, your inserts are here, and you click to see what community events, what 911 education, whatever you've got. And it's a very cost-effective way. I think usually when I do it, I do it is a three-quarter sheet from an 8.5 by 11. It's one side. So I've got plenty of room to get lots of information on there, and I think it goes out to 72,000 customers, and it only costs me like $1,200. So $1,200 versus 72,000 people that they've reached is a pretty good bang for my buck. So no, I can't afford a billboard, but I can get my message out through my water bill. So we generally do one of those a year. So you just have to check to see if there's somebody that you can connect with that offers that type of service. Challenges with this group won't happen to me, and I already know everything about 911. There's nothing that you can teach me. Yeah, except for that your phone, even though it has GPS, doesn't give us an exact location, and you need to know where you are. And so we all know that there are lots of things that we can teach them, but it's getting them to understand that they actually don't know everything. And the quickest way for me to do that, like I said, it was for my little quick quiz. I'll do that on paper. Hey, just give me the non-emergency number. Tell me where you are. Do you know the 5 questions? And they realize how much they don't know when they start filling out the quiz. And they're like, oh, maybe I should listen to this person, because I don't actually know all the answers. So it works out to my advantage. For your promotional items, you want to make sure, like I said, it's something that they're going to actually use, whether it's a pill cutter, a pill box. Yes, that's why you have pill boxes for your seniors. The jar grips are also really popular. Fans are very popular. Rain bonnets are very popular. And emery boards. Seniors just love those things. Challenges with this group, they don't feel like they're important. They don't want to be a bother. They really feel like they're not important enough for an ambulance to come and check on them. They're not important enough for a police officer to come and take their report. And they don't trust their own judgment because, unfortunately, their adult children have told them that their health is failing, they're not mentally there, what are you doing, Mom? You should know better than that. Why are you bothering these people? Unfortunately, usually it's the adult children who have convinced them that their judgment is so bad that they can't make a decision on their own, so they have to call their children first. Okay? Like I said, they'll call a friend, they'll call somebody else, and they're afraid that it's going to cost them money, and they're on a limited budget. So make sure that you line out. If the police officer comes to take a police report, they're not going to charge you. If your house is on fire and the fire department comes out, they're not going to charge you. If the paramedics come out and they check on you, but they don't transport you, they're not going to charge you. Now, if you have to be transported to the hospital, yes, it's going to be a cost. But you have Medicare, you have whatever that's going to help defray whatever that cost is. On to our special needs. Okay. Special needs. These are your deaf, your hard of hearing, your sight impaired, your non-English speakers, your physically, mentally challenged, your oxygen dependent. Any of those would fall into special needs. Okay. If you have people who speak any language other than English, you have a special needs population. If you have anyone in your community who is deaf, who has autism, who has a mental impairment, you have a special needs group. These are probably one of the most unrecognized group as far as public education goes. Okay, but we definitely need to reach them. How do I find them? You work the Google button on the internet machine. Okay, you're going to have to look for them. They are most likely not going to come to you. You have to go out and actually find them. Look for flyers. Anybody here you've been at your grocery store or something and they've got a community bulletin board and there are flyers for different groups? Every now and then stop and take a look and see who's up there, because chances are you're going to have an autism support group, or maybe it's a Chinese Bible study, English as a second language course. Okay, all of those things are going to help you to be able to find these particular audiences. How can you educate them? You can offer a presentation to the group. Have flyers and brochures translated into their language if possible. Okay, now I'm not saying you should go and research every language you have in your city, because I know for Plano that would be very, very expensive, because we have a lot of different languages. Okay, so we can't do everything, but I do have some brochures in obviously English, Spanish, Vietnamese, and then I have one that is in probably, I want to say, 15 or 20 different languages that lets them know we can get a translator. So 911 is still for that particular audience. Interpreters. If you're speaking to a deaf community, it's a good idea to see if you can have an interpreter or somebody who speaks that language who's able to interpret for you to make it as easy for them to understand as you possibly can. If it's for the physically, mentally challenged, you want to meet with the caretakers, or you can offer services. I know that in Plano we have a group, they're called My Possibilities. These are highly functioning people who have disabilities. They have a nice little store in their center, and they actually have an academy, okay? And so they're teaching them different life skills. They're teaching them how to interview for a job, how to fill out a job application, and different things so that way they can be even higher functioning. And so I haven't worked out all the details, but I'm in the process of trying to get in as part of their academy to teach them this life skill, that should their caretaker have an issue or they have an issue when no one else is around and they need to call 911, exactly what to be able to do. Now you're going to make sure that you're making it on their level, so you kind of need to find out where they are mentally. So even though it's a 40-year-old man, you may need to talk to him like he's an 8-year-old boy. Okay, so bring it down to their level and make it as easy as you can. And then gaining trust, and that's going to be one of your cultural issues as well. Okay, there are some cultures that the police are not necessarily their favorite people because of the way the police were in the country that they were actually in. So they're never going to call 911. So it may take more than one visit, and you need to build a rapport with them, kind of like with your seniors. Your general population is generally going to be your safety fairs, your community events, festivals, parades, things of that nature where you're going to have a large crowd of people. You can find these events usually your city websites, your community bulletin boards, working with your Chamber of Commerce. There are different websites where you can go to check to see what community events that you've got. And then you network with your other safety organizations, your hospitals, your Red Cross, your Lions Club, and you work with your police department and fire department. I know I work very closely with my police educators and my fire educators, and we're in good contact all the time. So if I get invited to an event, I'll always ask, have you called police and fire? You haven't. Would you like for them to come? And if they haven't, then I'll forward them the information. Go, hey, ladies, we've got this coming up. Can you guys make it? Like I said, and that's how we work that out. Our hospital has a day of dance that they do. They also have a Heart Smart Saturday. I specifically talk just about women's heart issues for that particular day and the importance of calling 911 and not driving yourself to the hospital. And like I said, what do you take to these events? You're going to take brochures, your giveaways, your promotional items. Try and tie it into your event, especially if you can tie in a little catchy slogan. Display board. I've got one that it's a tabletop display, and I can change it out for whatever event it happens to be. So for Heart Smart Saturday, I've got women's heart issues. For Kids Night Out, which is one of our safe trick-or-treating event. I've got different brochures for that one. I actually called the company that makes Smarties, and I called them to see if they would donate some candy for the trick-or-treating event. And so that was the only candy I gave out at that event was just Smarties, with the tagline of, "Are you a 911 Smartie?" Smarties know their location. Smarties don't call 911 as a joke. Smarties don't do this, and they had to answer a safety question in order to get the trick-or-treat candy. You never put all your goodies out on the table. You just put a few of your promotional items, and people go, "Oh, what do you have?" "Well, here, if you'll take my 911 quiz, I'll be more than happy to give you one of my items here." But they don't get the item until they take my quiz. They don't get the item until they answer a question, because I need that information that helps me to be able to justify my existence as a public educator. It helps to be able to have that data. So whatever you have to do.
The who, who am I going to speak to? The what am I going to be teaching? And the how do I want to do it? What am I going to need? What materials do I need to take? That kind of thing. And I'm sure that, some of you have probably seen them, experienced them, and written them, and kind of gone through them before, lesson plans. So, excuse me, there are different lesson plans, obviously. You're going to make one different for children than you do the adults. You're going to make one different for your special needs groups than anything else. And it's really just a thought process. Don't reinvent the wheel. Use what we're going to give you. Use your resources. Use the NPEF, the NPEF website that we talked about. They have got just tons of wonderful information on there. I had to actually I had to train myself that every time I had a new challenge at work or something that I needed to research, I do Google it. Y'all know that, right? But I also go on the NPEF website, because it's there. And, it's available to me. And I can see what other people are doing across the nation, which is awesome, in all the other states. So,
when you consider ordering promotional products, one of the things you should do is, of course, consider all of your audiences. That goes without saying. And when I first started years ago, I was, thrilled to be able to purchase stuff. And I ordered these suckers, candy, and I had the 911 imprint, and I was watching the news, and some kid choked on some candy at school, and I went, oh crap. Not my candy, and so I called my vendor and I went, I need to cancel that order. They were so mad because I was ordering like hundreds of thousands of those little suckers. And they're like, you can do the ones with the safety stick, and I'm like, no. So I'm considerate of choking hazards and all of that stuff. I mean, anything can happen. Our PET group, Public Educators Group, we just feed off of each other. We get lots of tips, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can call each other and say, what'd you put in your brochure, or how do you say this, or get ideas for taglines and all the little stuff you see on the materials in your packet. Vendors. I think I talked about vendors before. Build relationships with vendors. Y'all probably get those or have seen the promotional products catalogs. Is this one? No?
Yeah, I borrowed it from Kelly.
Yeah. This one is Trainer's Warehouse, but they're all sorts of promotional products, catalogs. Their pricing, in my experience, is higher than your local hometown vendors and companies, and they're called specialty items or promotional products companies. And you can look, I was going to say in the yellow pages, you can look online. Oh, that's old school. You can Google them, you can call us, you can look on the PETS page, you can ask MPEF, ask MPEF to send out an email that says I'm looking for promotional products vendors in my area. Or they don't even have to be in your area. They can be people that we've used before and we have a good relationship with. There are a ton of them that I use because I like to give folks an opportunity, like I said before. And I told you customer service, of course, price is a concern. And go out for bid. Do not, they could be the nicest person in the world, and I've got vendors I've been working with for years, and there's one, bless her heart, she just comes in too high. And every now and then I'll give her, if I go out for bid on 80 items, and she just comes in too high. She's been giving me bids for years, 10 years. And so I'm like, Debbie, what are you not getting? Because I'm not telling her, I tell her afterward, you were too high. She's like, can I ever win your bids? I said, you're too high. You have to know your craft. Heck, I can go into promotional products business now. I might do that, retirement. You have to buy your stuff from me. But she's too high. And the others have been too high, but they figure out. So I'll tell them after the bid, never during the bid. And some will ask you, what was, you'll tell them, I'll tell them after the bid. I say, okay, your bid was 7 cents on the pencil. Somebody was 6.5 cents. And I go, okay, I can go to 6.5 cents. Nope, the process is over. There are some people who will try to get you to go, and then some people will work with you. They have worked with you on something, and giving you different artworks, different colors, different this, different that, different options, and in the bid process, and then they're too high. And you just tell them, you're too high. And I worked with you. I'm like, maybe next time. So they learn. Don't get suckered into feeling sorry for somebody because they worked with you. And then they're going to come in high. And ask people about shipping. Some people mark up their freight. I always get an estimated freight charge. Some companies, some vendors mark up their freight. And then if you ask them, they go, oh yeah, we did mark up, but they won't tell you they mark up their shipping costs. So be sure to ask, because that's an additional cost. You're thinking, okay, the pencil's 7 cents. That's great. But to ship your pencils, there's a shipping cost. And you need to know what the estimated shipping is, because they'll drive up your price and take you out of what you budgeted for that item. Be careful with your vendors. You want people that work with you, work with your schedule, time frame, and ask other people who they like and who they work with.
We need to build a team. We need to involve the community with this. So that's what this section is going to be about. Getting help from your agency, getting help from outside sources.
Oh, is that yours?
Okay. All right. All right, so we're going to talk about a tag team. I have several of my tag team members in the room, so you guys will kind of see some of my trade secrets of how I do things. So it talks about the history of the tag team. So it's all the people in North Central Texas, council governments, Denton, not just our people, but people that can drive and meet, attend this tag meeting. And it's together achieving goals. And the purpose of the tag team is to network with other telecommunicators, police, fire, rescue, or other volunteers for the cities or counties to help spread the 911 message. So we get together and we collaborate. We share ideas, what worked, what didn't work. Here's something new that I found out about. And then with my team, I also work with them making new slogans, thinking of things that we want to buy for the community, what they want to try. So what I passed out is tag team. This is what I go through. This is a process I go through. And so you can do this on a smaller level, because some of you will still come to our tag team meetings, but if you want to create other groups within your agency, if you need the more help, because we can't reach every area that we want to. But I'd have quarterly meetings, and some of the things I go through, I start gathering stuff like we talked about from the pets conferences or other conferences, just gather stuff, I put it all in one pile, and just to have a stack of stuff to share with the team. But I always try to send out within 2 weeks to a month before the meeting, a reminder, see who all can come. This helps me because I provide food for our group, so I can plan for lunches and such. And then on the second page is stuff that I make sure I have in each meeting. We have a target audience that we meet per quarter. Last month, what was it? Middle school, high school kids. This upcoming time, the previous time before that was senior citizens. This upcoming time is going to be special needs groups, which is something that I'm passionate about, so I'm excited about that. And one thing that I find helpful is if you have a meeting, recap your meeting, send out an email. Sometimes people aren't able to come, or they forgot, hey, where was that resource at, or what was that website again? Just send it back all out. You build a team, just communicate. And although we only meet once every quarter, I try to send out little gems, or hey, have you thought of this, or here's something that I've found.
The tag team was started, I forgot how many years ago.
Well, Christy and Julie Hatch.
Julie Hatch, who used to do what I did at Tarrant County, and Christy Williams, who used to do what I did for the COG, started the tag team. So it's always been a joint effort of both of Tarrant County and the COG. Kelly has come in and taken it over because I've let it just fall by the wayside. And like they said, it's just a big networking opportunity. We meet quarterly. We used to meet here one quarter, there the next quarter, but we're meeting here essentially doing all the work. And it's just a great opportunity for us to tell people, this is the slogan, this is the National 911 slogan this year, these are the issues this year, and then for y'all to give us feedback on
how to keep volunteers. They need a clear outline of what the project is. They need a specific task, when you expect that task completed, and then they need like an outcome, like a summary. Hey, that went great. Next time let's choose glow sticks that are only one color, because 5 colors, people fight over all the colors. It's good, which we're working on. But your volunteers need to know exactly. Some people have to have that definite. And then in the end, thank them, because they've given up their time as well. They could have been reading their book. Instead, they helped you stuff bags. You know, they're dedicating their time. And, you know, they could have been off hanging out with a friend, but no, they're helping you talk to the Boy Scouts or go do a career fair. So make sure your volunteers are thanked and have a clear outline of what's expected of them.
If your boss does not value public education, you have a problem. Because you'll just be doing it for free. Okay, and some of you are doing it for free. I know our agency, if you're doing a public education event, that is still considered work. You have to be compensated for the time that you're putting in. But part of that is because we do have the buy-in of the bosses. And I'll be real honest with you. When our former director, when he came to us from New York, we had 2 public educators. And he didn't understand what we did. He didn't understand why it took 2 of us. He just didn't get it. And he told us, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand what you're doing. I don't understand why it takes 2 of you. Really, one person should be able to handle this. But what he didn't understand is that we were doing 6 grade levels for 43 elementaries. We weren't just doing 1 grade level, which is what I'm doing now. Okay, we were doing kindergarten through 5th grade. All 43 elementary schools. We were doing safety fairs, we were doing parades, we were doing balloon festival. We were busy, okay? In addition to all of the TC appreciation stuff, and he didn't get it, and he didn't understand. So the only way I knew to get him to understand was to invite him along. He needed to see it. At the time, I didn't have all the information that I needed to quantify my program, okay? So all I needed to do was to show him. So I took him. Come on, Mr. Timmons, let's go. I've got a school. Why don't you come along? Okay, and then whenever he saw the impact of the program, he saw what those children, what information they were getting, he saw how well they were doing, he got it. Then I made him pass out stickers at a parade. Yeah, your bosses can be some of your biggest help. Come on, Mr. Timmons. Here you go. Let's load you up. And I gave him just tons and tons and tons of stickers. And I said, now, go ahead and go. And he goes, but the parade hadn't started yet. And I said, I know, but we're going to catch up to you and then we're going to pass you because we're in a vehicle and you're on foot. But you're my prep team, so I need you to go ahead and go ahead. Take your stickers, pass them out. And at the time we had Reddy Fox. And so pass out the stickers. Let the kids know, hey, Reddy Fox is coming. Look forward to Reddy Fox. Reddy Fox is coming, the 911 mascot. And he said, I didn't have to say anything. I'd start to hand out the sticker, and the kids would say, Reddy Fox, because they knew. And he said, and they knew because you were already in the schools. You'd already talked to these kids. And he said, and he told me, he said, I'm going to be honest with you. He said, I have a confession. While you were getting Reddy Fox ready, and getting the person in the costume, I cornered some of your high school volunteers and said, hey, you guys are volunteering, right? Yeah, we're volunteering. So, you ever think about prank calling 911? And he said, they looked at me like I was from Mars. What? Why would we do that? It's wrong. You don't play on 911. What's wrong? And they're looking at him like, what is wrong with you? And he goes, where did you learn this? He goes, in school. Back in elementary school, we learned this stuff. And he goes, okay, so now I'm really getting the grasp of what it is that you're doing, especially with the children. You're talking to them in elementary school, and the message is still with them in high school. And these kids are recognizing that it's Reddy Fox. He said, some of the adults were going, look, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, we got that. We got that a little bit. Okay, he does kind of resemble Sonic just a little bit. He said, but the kids were going, no, that's the 911 mascot. And they understood. Since that time, I did actually attend a National Fire Academy course. And you're going, but Susan, you don't work for the fire department. You are correct. I do not work for the fire department, but they have some amazing public education programs at the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. And I'm a little off topic, but because my bosses knew how important it was, I found a course, and it was demonstrating your fire prevention program's worth. Okay, and if you don't know, a program is a program is a program, and it doesn't matter if it's a fire prevention program, a crime prevention program, or a 911 education program. All the programs are the same. And so I went to the National Fire Academy, which is great training, by the way, and free. They will reimburse you for your travel expenses to get to Emmitsburg. You stay in the dorms. The only cost to my agency was my meal ticket. And I was there for 7 days. My brain hurt at the end of the 7 days. But it was really good training, and I've gone back twice since then for presenting effective public education programs and community education leadership. And so it's great, great, great training.
Utilizing the media to get your message out, because it's an avenue that is free, cost-free. You just have to be able to tell a good story. So, you know, people don't like the media for various reasons. I have my reasons. I used to work in television and radio for many years. That was my first career. And my opinion about journalists today is minimized because, you know, probably the same reasons you have. But there are some good journalists out there, and you don't always get to work with them. You have to take what calls you. But there are some good ones out there, and those are the ones I build relationships with, and you know, call them when I have a good story, and they call me when they're looking for a good story. And so, but you have to have a story to tell. Do not call them for every little thing. My former director, he adopted a child from China. That is magnificent. He's like, okay, can you call them all and tell them the 911 director adopted a child from China? No. I applaud you, and everybody else does too. But I'm not going to waste my credibility on that. You know, once we had a senator who's in town, a U.S. senator in town, and my old director was giving him a tour of the Arlington PSAP. And he's like, I want the news media there. And I want you to have a news conference because Joe Barton is going to be touring Dispatch. And I said, Bill, that's not newsworthy. That is absolutely not newsworthy. Plus, it's an election cycle. So they're not going to cover him anyway because he's up for re-election and he has an opponent. He's like, come on, you got to do it, got to do it. I was like, no. He's like, yeah, you got to do it. I said, okay. I called Channel 8, Channel 5. I said, would you all come cover this thing if I had a news conference? And they said, nope. I said, call me back, leave me a voicemail. Played it for Bill. I said, see, they're not going to come. He says, do it anyway. He's trying to impress the congressman. It's not impressive if you have a news conference with no news media. You know, just a podium and people standing. So I staged it, and we were at the Arlington Police Department, and the PIO walked by and said, everything cool? And I said, I have no media. He said, oh, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram reporter just showed up to see what we had going on. He says, I'll go get him. So he was like, I was like, sit down. So he sat there and he was like, I said, ask some questions. You know, so, you know, don't call him out for stuff that's not newsworthy. That was not newsworthy. Anyway, so have a good story to tell. Make sure there's a message that is newsworthy, that has good visuals, good audio. Can never go wrong with a kid saving somebody's life or kid call. Well, you can. Don't just make sure it's not domestic, and you know. But this is how we do it. We'll kick off National 911 Education Month with a news conference if we have some citizen heroes or some kid heroes or something like that. You get the kid, so one of your PSAPs will one of them calls, got a great call for you. They send you the call, you listen to it, you vet it, make sure the child won't be traumatized by rehearing. You know, that's why you don't do domestics and murders and things like that. Call the family, tell them that you want to honor their kid for what they did. You try to get the victim or the person whose life they saved, the call taker, dispatcher took the call, do a big news conference, make sure you have the audio of the call, and then you have all these players, and you script them, or not script them, or put them in a show flow, and you tell the story, you play the call, you ask the person whose life was saved if they'd like to talk. You ask the dispatcher if they'd like to talk and tell them to recount what happened. Great TV. They'll run it all day, all night, the next day, and everything else. And you make sure you insert your public education messages. You might tell your dispatcher, this is what I want you to make sure. You know, you can talk about the call, but talk about why this person did a good job.
And social media, like we talked about, low budget, no budget, is great. It's free. You don't have to print anything. You do have to invest time. Time is money, but you invest time. So here at the COG, we've gotten to where we try to post something every day in our social media. And social media is different because it's a conversation. You're wanting to talk to people and hopefully get some response back. Unlike newspapers where you just give it to them. So we get people that are retweeting or comment on our pictures or our posts that we put out there. Let's see. And on here I give you kind of our diagram of what we, at the bottom, our weekly goal. Like Monday we do a safety tip. Tuesday we just have a fast fact. Wednesday was like a did you know sort of thing. Thursday we try to do Throwback Thursday, which kind of ran out of a little momentum. So, you know, pictures of us 20, 30 years ago. Yes. I found one where I attended the COG. It was one of my basic classes. I look like a typical dispatcher, hair and ponytail and jeans and just hanging out. And then, yeah, Friday we tried to just put something else out there for the weekend, something fun. But what we are using on the second page, it talks about Hootsuite. This has been a lifesaver. Hootsuite is free. The basic package is free, which is all we've really seen that we need. This is where you can upload all of your things for a week, for a month, for a year, and schedule them to be, you know, released. So that's what we do. We just sit down and we talk at the beginning of the week. What do we want? One of the interns helps me, and she puts them all in there and schedules everything. And so it just acts on its own. So just like once a month, you sit down for a couple hours, program it all, and let it go. And then the beginning of the next month, you sit down for a couple hours and let it go. You just choose what theme you want. So if you guys have city sites, Stephenville has one. Yeah. They keep up and retweet some of our stuff. We have our Facebook account hooked to our Twitter account. So we only really fill our Facebook, and then it just populates into Twitter as well. That's kind of neat. So on the back, it's kind of the dashboard of what you see in Hootsuite, where you can. It's just a picture where you can see where your stuff's been retweeted, see mentions, or you can click over to the Facebook and see all those things. So Hootsuite's a great tool for social media. It's free, just your time and energy. So those of us, I worked midnights. I always had a lot of free time, so it'd be perfect for filling and loading stuff in there.